Hello friends, Sam here from Harvey Cat Homestead. It is the 4th of July, happy Independence Day, and it is like 1 in the afternoon, and it is hot, which we love that here. My reptile self is very excited about the heat. I've also got a brand new recording device, so hopefully your quality will have improved from the last video that you watched, if indeed it was an older video. Depending on when you're watching this, I don't know. Anyway, what we're doing today is we are coming out in the heat of the day very intentionally because it's the best time to pick tomatoes, because that is when there is less moisture in there. So what we're going to do is we are going to pick the guys here that are ready, and we are going to core them and score them and store them. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So let's get at it. Let's see if you can't see what we're doing over here. There you go. Hopefully that'll give you a good view of what I've got going on. Man. So already I got somebody ruined. It's possible that the outside of this is still okay. I'm going to go ahead and bring it inside anyway. I don't want to put it in my bag. I did bring out this lovely little crossbody bag that's mesh, that's excellent for harvesting. So I am going to try to keep my varieties separate. And I'm going to rely on my eyeballs for that a little more than I am actually keeping things separate in the bag. Some of these are absolutely beautiful. It's still a bit early for some of them. That guy leaked on me. A lot of moisture in there still. Huh, okay. Sticking them in the bag. Okay, I think that's actually it in terms of what is ready to go inside. And we'll get in there and get set up, and I'll show you what we have going on. Alright, the very first thing I would like to show you is your knife. So it is very important when you're working with tomatoes to sharpen your knife. This is just a little guy from Walmart. There's 3 different little spots. It says on there what exactly they do. So you just go through 1, 2, 3 in that order, and you just kind of sling your knife through here. There are other more fancy ways to actually sharpen knives, but so you're either going to use a regular knife like that for a tomato, which is what I prefer, or they have these fancy tomato knives, and this is good for slicing like crossways, but those serrations are very unique and they work very well with, sorry, camera's not wanting to focus. All right, you can kind of see the serrations. This one's much more difficult to sharpen. It's a much more of a unique kind of fella, so I like sticking with my simple, you know, just regular flat blade. And let me get these rinsed off and we'll get to slicing. All right, I've got a towel sitting down right here, and we're just gonna go ahead and get at it. Let me show you another reason this has to be done today. This is squishy. This is sun scald, and if I don't get this tomato stored or used quickly, it will ruin the entire thing. So don't want to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this guy first. This little fuzzy stuff over here. Now, it's not imperative that you get absolutely 100% of it, but I will tell you, if you're trying to thaw something that has that whatever ribbing kind of stuff this is, it becomes very, very difficult for it to be removed from the tomato. So it does not like coming off. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this sun scalded spot. You're gonna make sure that on the inside, yeah, see, it's starting to rot, which is the very last thing that we want. So essentially you're gonna cut through this until there's nothing that looks bad. This right here is just from the core. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the rest of these green shoulders as well. And this is what you're gonna do on every single one of these. Like if there's damage, remove it. If there's that black webbing, remove it. Remove the core and score the bottom. So we started with scoring the bottom, and now here we are removing the core. So this is essentially, well, I say that, we started with okay, so that's our little score. And you can do it crosswise depending on the tomato that you have. That is what that looks like. And there's our first tomato. That is a Dr. Wychee's yellow. And all of this is going to go into the compost pile. And actually, if you really wanted to, you could save those seeds. And I may do that. I may actually do that. I think that's a really good thing I could show you too, is how to save tomato seeds. All right, now that I've kind of slowed down and shown you what exactly that looks like. Now again, each of these are going in their specific variety labeled bags. Pop him in there, and then they'll just go directly in the freezer once they're full. But now that that's done, I am just going to get at it and burn through it. And you get to be fast forwarded, so you don't have to sit here with me for every single tiny little detail. All right, so we're just gonna power through this. I will tell you, it makes me a little bit nervous to watch myself at 4 times speed use a knife like this. So hopefully it doesn't make you nervous too, but you know, it is what it is. As long as I don't try to do this in real time, well, in real life, at 4 times speed, I think we'll be okay. So this is such a simple process, and it saves so much harvest, and it has totally changed the way I garden. All right, I decided to change spots here for you because I really want to apologize for the lighting in this video. It's kind of hard to tell what is going on in some spots just because of the background lighting. As I said, I am using a new recording device, and so I am trying to figure out the quirks, and we kind of do that as we go around here. So, yeah. Let me say, if you've not tried growing a pineapple tomato, they are absolutely my favorite. I really do not plan on ever having a garden without pineapple tomatoes in it. I don't care if it does have cat facing, where you have to like scoop out all these little things in the middle. It's so tasty. I mean, I love them for fresh eating, but it's really cool to be able to isolate that flavor when you're working on a salsa. It's such a bright, sweet flavor for these pineapple tomatoes. They're just, I just can't get enough of these things. I feel like they'd be really good, maybe in combination with like a peach salsa. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. My mom absolutely loves peach salsa, so maybe I'm just biased because of her. Anyways, we've moved on to the Paul Robeson tomato.
This is my first year trying these, so I haven't done a whole lot in terms of understanding their flavor in cooking. I actually have not cooked with them at all yet. I will say the bottom of these is kind of frustrating, but if I can deal with it on the pineapple, then I can deal with it on a Paul Robeson. These are supposed to be a more savory tomato with more depth of flavor. Anytime you're working with an heirloom tomato as opposed to a hybrid or a newer variety, you're going to end up with these strange shapes like this, the kind of squatty ones with the green shoulders. But we didn't really have that problem on these. We did have that one really bad spot on that, but this is Wood's Famous Brimmer. These are great. This is not my first year doing these. These I've done in the past, and their flavor, I mean, they're just like a nice classic regular tomato. There is one out there that I haven't tried yet that's not gotten ripe yet, and that's the Abe Lincoln variety. So hopefully that one's going to be good. But so far, I'm quite impressed with these Wood's Famous Brimmer in terms of them being an heirloom and still having the awesome flavor and the ability to grow directly from their own seed, but still not having a ton of the flesh like with weird green shoulders or the crazy cat facing. They just keep their simple single blooms, which is excellent. So the more of the actual flesh we can harvest and use in cooking, the better, or whether we're fresh eating. I will say having the gluten allergy really messes up tomato season for me, but that's okay. All right, this will all go to compost.
All right. So let me show you how exactly we are going to save these seeds. You just need a mason jar. You either need a rubber band or like a ring to put over it, and you don't want a regular lid. You want something that's going to allow air movement and fermentation. So I use a coffee filter, and then you're going to need water. So we're just going to get our seeds all goopy down inside of this jar. Now this isn't a ton of seeds. This is only a few. You want to try to avoid getting the big chunks of flesh. You don't need that in there at all. All right. So there's a pretty big chunk of flesh down in there. Let me push it out. All right, it's got seeds stuck to it. Okay. And now you're just gonna put water in there. You don't need a ton, just enough. So that's really about as much as you need. And you're gonna go ahead and just cover it up and leave it sitting on your counter. What you wanna do is come by every day. I try to do twice a day and just swish it. Just kind of like, literally, you're just swishing it, just kind of circling it around. And you want to make sure the variety name that you have, especially if you're doing more than one seed. It gets very confusing. But at the end of about 3 or 4 days, you'll be able to take these out and sit them on a paper towel, and they will dry, and then they will be ready. So tomatoes, their seeds are like surrounded by gel. This fermentation process is what gets that gel off of there. This is kind of simulating it going through the digestive tract of an animal, because that is how the fruit is designed to spread its seed. That's why the tomato fruit is so very tasty. So in just a few days, these will go onto a paper towel to dry, and then once they're fully dried, we can use them next year, and they will be better acclimated to our specific climate because the fruit was grown in our climate. So that is how you save seeds. All these are gonna do, these baggies, I'm gonna stick them in our chest freezer outside, and we are going to, as we harvest more, as they are ready, even the ones that we bring in and allow to sit on the counter and finish ripening inside, you can still cut them up and put them inside of these bags. And what I do is at the end of the season, I'll come. That's why I don't have a specific date written on here. I've only got the year, because at the end of the season, I will come in and make whatever I want to from these tomatoes. Now, you don't have to do this. If you want to, you could roast them. You could go ahead if you like. I don't have enough tomatoes right now to do a batch of salsa or a batch of sauce, which is why these are getting stored. But this is how I kind of prevent so if you've ever grown tomatoes, you know what I'm talking about. They accumulate on your counter. And if you don't have them going somewhere, what happens is they start to leak, they start to mold, they start to draw fruit flies. Fruit flies are the bane of our existence here, and I do not want to draw them. So this prevents any of that yucky nastiness, and it prevents waste. That's the biggest thing for me, is for preventing waste. And granted, there is a lot in here that makes me kind of sad in terms of like green shoulders and the sun scald. A lot of these tomatoes had sun scald, and that's it's not ideal, but you know, it's been very hot. The sun has been very intense here in central North Carolina. So I'm gonna get off here. I'm gonna go ahead and stick these in the freezer. And I would definitely recommend you have an organization system in your freezer, because if not, and you are putting things from the garden in there, it's very easy for things to get lost, and that's a whole other avenue for you to end up with food waste, and that is the last thing we want. So that's another thing. Use what's in your freezer. I am guilty of this. I have a tendency to just go to our canning cabinet and pull out what I've canned from the year before or from the season, instead of pulling stuff out of the freezer. And it's just because I don't think about it. So I would highly encourage you maybe to create some kind of list, or, you know, even if it's just like a little notepad on your fridge, say, hey, these are the sides that I have ready in the freezer. Don't forget about them. I may do that, actually. It's not a bad idea. Just came up with it. Haha. Yeah, you can use that too. All right, I'm gonna get these in the freezer. Thanks for hanging out with me for our little tomato harvest today. And hopefully next year we will have a much larger harvest. There's still, obviously, if you saw, there's a whole bunch of green fruit still on those plants. And I have hope that they will continue to set more fruit. And yeah, that's our day today. So thanks for hanging out with me. Again, my name is Sam. Thank you for stopping by at Harvey Cat Homestead, and I hope you have an absolutely beautiful day. Bye.